This is Earnings Preview, a look at companies reporting during the week, along with companies which may have positive or negative earnings surprises. And this earnings preview is for the week of November 17th through the 21st. Charles Rotblatt, our senior market analyst at Zacks.com, joins me now because this is his piece that he puts together for us every week. One of, how many are we up to now? I don't know. You've got a lot of stuff that you're doing. It's not even worth counting anymore. It's just he's all over this place here. This is going to be the last big week for third quarter earnings. Why?
It is. We're actually seeing really the last of the large cap companies report. We have Target, we have Home Depot reporting, we have Lowe's. The only other notable large cap that's still out there is Hewlett Packard. They're actually going to report a week from Monday, which I believe would be the 24th. Monday, so right before Thanksgiving, but really it's going to be the last week where we see most of the large caps report. Then we'll start seeing some small caps report. Obviously, move into December, we'll see the brokerage firms and some of the early reporters for the fourth quarter report. But for third quarter earnings season, really by pretty much every measure, it's pretty much going to be over next week. We could really extend it out to Monday with Hewlett Packard, but we're just kind of really drawing lines in the sand by saying that.
And with the way things have been going, I'm sure that more people would want this over sooner rather than later.
It's interesting. I did talk about it in our Zacks Elite commentary, which I'll be posting later this Friday afternoon. I don't think it really had much impact. I mean, certain reports definitely spooked investors. Certainly, if we look at Thursday's numbers from Best Buy, really kind of scared people because Best Buy said that they saw the sales drop considerably.
Right. Yeah.
But I think by and large, there's a general expectation that guidance wouldn't be good, that earnings wouldn't be that great. And I think a lot of the volatility really is based on what's going on with the economy. The uncertainty is that we don't know what 2009 is going to look like. And obviously with the TARP program and some of the other bailout measures being talked about, I really think in this case, earnings season really was almost a non-factor. It did have some intraday effect, but by and large, I think people were looking at even larger issues than just what companies earned this past quarter.
Well, I think you're right. I think that certainly didn't come back into focus until after the election was out of the way, and then the market had to focus on something, and that was like the next thing on the short list. But that short list also includes the U.S. automakers. And so now going forward, we're going to be taking a look at fourth quarter earnings for these automakers, probably even worse than third quarter, assuming they're all three still around by that time.
Well, I think the big thing for the automakers, it's not even so much what fourth quarter earnings are going to be like. It's really a question of liquidity. Footnoted.org, it's a site that actually goes through the 10Qs, not associated with Zacks, but they actually saw that in GM's latest filing with the SEC, they used the term going concern 15 times. Mm-hmm. Generally, when you see the term going concern, it usually applies to whether or not a company's going to stay in business. Usually, you don't think about it. Best Buy, for instance, is a going concern. Target's a going concern. You don't expect these companies to go out of business.
Right.
GM, it's very questionable, and it's interesting because yesterday some Republicans were actually coming out and saying, we're not going to vote for it. And Shelby of Alabama actually, I believe the words he used, that he did not want to support, quote, mismanagement in Detroit, end quote. So if there is going to be a bailout of the automakers, very questionable as to when it will happen. And at this point, it's a very big if as to whether or not there will be a bailout. Bankruptcy for Ford and GM and Chrysler is a real possibility. And I should just say one of our analysts actually just came out with a new report on GM, $2 price target on the stock. I think if you're an investor and you're looking at the stock, you really need to treat it as a call option. And it's really not a call option on what the stock will do. It's a call option as to whether or not you think the company will stay in business, and be really prepared to lose every dollar you put into the company right now.
All right. Also on the docket for the week is some economic news that comes out. Namely, on Monday, October industrial production and capacity use rate comes out. You've got PPI coming out on Tuesday. Are these indicators going to have much impact on stock activity for the week?
I think those things that people will really be looking at. They'll be looking at the inflation. We have CPI and PPI coming out, consumer and producer price indexes. We will have building permits and housing starts. Kind of gives us more updated information on the housing industry. We'll get the Fed minutes from the last meeting. We can kind of really see what the what the members of the Fed were thinking. Friday's interesting. We'll actually have the Philly Fed survey come out. That's one of the most real-time economic reports that we have available. Even though it's a regional survey, it's been around for a while. People really look at it. If you actually go to the Philadelphia Fed Reserve's website, you can actually see the survey, and they always have a special question, kind of getting a sense of what businesses in that area are thinking and what they're feeling and what they're doing in terms of the economy. So that's always an interesting report.
So there's no shortage yet of volatility in the stock market as debate swirls over a lot of issues, automaker bailout being one of them, earnings, economic indicators. Don't know where the next round of bad economic news is going to come from. Are these going to be the main drivers here for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be a lot of volatility just because we're seeing it continued. Friday is an options expiration day. Typically, that adds a little bit of volatility. I don't think it's going to be noticeable given the large swings. When you're having a 900-point swing on a Dow, options expiring really aren't going to have that big an impact. The other wild card could actually come from the new administration, whether or not Obama picks a Treasury Secretary, who that person is, and what the reaction to that name is. It can happen at any time. Obviously, he's not giving a timetable for it, but I think he well realizes that he needs to have someone picked before January, and probably someone who is well known. And depending on when he makes that selection and who it is, that could also have an impact on trading as well. But certainly the bailout, certainly a lot of focus on the economy. Probably see some people adjusting the portfolios ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday, since this will be the last full week of trading of the month. But by and large, I don't see anything on the calendar that would cause the volatility to slow down at all.
Okay. In his text version of his earnings preview piece this week, Charles also outlines some companies that will be reporting some positive surprises and at least one that is going to be reporting a negative surprise. And I encourage you to go to the text piece at Zacks.com and check that out post haste, as a matter of fact. So go to Zacks.com, scroll down the page until you see the earnings preview headline, click on the link, and it'll take you right there. With Charles Rotblatt and the earnings preview, I'm Terry Ruffalo.